Adventurelands, Part 14. At the end of the day, while we were walking back towards the dorms, I felt someone watching me intently. I was walking at the front next to Mr. Peralta, so I couldn't even guess who it might be. I tried to look back to see if anyone was overtly staring at me. However, as soon as I turned around, the feeling vanished. Everyone seemed to be lost in conversation with friends, everyone except for Cat and K9. They seemed to be almost violently trying to ignore each other. As they continued to walk so close together, I honestly couldn't tell if they were already holding hands. When we reached the dorm, as everyone else went in, I turned and noticed our beautiful kaleidoscopic sun was just starting to set. It was throwing every kind of color you could imagine all over the place. Truly, one of the most beautiful sights any world could ever offer. Every time I saw it, for at least a few moments, I'd want to stop and stare vacantly at its beautiful colors. Unfortunately, I'd seen it so many times that I was mostly jaded to even that ever-shifting aesthetic perfection. At my age, I could only appreciate it fleetingly. Though, at the moment, exhaustion was overriding everything else. All I wanted to do was take a short nap. Even if I hadn't gotten any visible results, I'd been using magic all afternoon. No matter the result, expending that much energy was exhausting. I was tapped out. I needed rest. Rest and food are the best ways to recover your magic. As soon as I got home, I slipped inside as quietly as I could, hoping I'd be able to go straight to bed. But of course, my plans never worked out as I hoped they would. When I opened the front door, Headmaster Mom was already waiting at the dinner table for me, staring straight through me with her most appraising glare. I had no choice but to eat with her, letting myself be quizzed on every aspect of shielding magic to prepare for tomorrow. She kept asking me questions about the theories behind various magic schools, how to cast specific spells, along with the spelling of any words I didn't pronounce perfectly. Occasionally, I'd even mispronounce a word on purpose because it was easy to spell when my brain needed a short break. Once we finished covering defensive spells, she asked a few questions about our world history and religion. The questions about religion always had me confused. Mom was strangely obsessed with making sure I knew the religious theories as well as our most recent scientific theories, along with our actual history. Despite that, she never once took me to church or attended any herself. As far as I knew, the various religions were primarily tools elites used to instruct the masses through metaphor. I could never figure out why she'd care about the particulars of something like that, especially when she'd always been so rational about everything else. Studying anything other than the broad message is, in my humble opinion, the behavior of a crazy person. And if there's one thing my mom never was, it was crazy. We'd only ever had the two religions on this continent. The Church of Necessary Evil, which promotes loving the world as a whole over everything else, then the love of thy family, then the love of yourself. They constantly preach to always be willing to sacrifice for the greater good. From what I've seen, most people who claim to follow their religion do not usually do any of those things. But people as a whole have always confused me. They claim to believe that the greatest sacrifice of all is forgiveness. They preach often about trying to forgive anyone who sins against you. Personally, I much prefer the, luckily far less popular, Church of Unnecessary Evil, which promotes petty vandalism as the best revenge. The pettier, the better. At some point in their lives, almost everyone changes religion, but most people only stay in the Church of Unnecessarily Evil while they're in their rebellious years, usually somewhere between ages 4 to 24, the time when all the good things are still prohibited and you don't know why yet. Participants never really steal or damage anything important, nor do they tend to keep any trophies other than a good story. Most stolen goods usually wind up across the street or glued to a door or something stupid like that. There are even ludicrous stories that when ancient demons try to grab for power, it's always the Church of Unnecessary Evil who rise up to stop them. But of course, young rogues rising up to destroy the corrupt establishment may be fun to read and fantasize about, but it never happens in real life. The magic and PKers at the disposal of the church and the crown are, in a word, unbeatable, especially if they're forced to work together to solve something.